You are watching a Fact TV presentation of the town of Swanzey.
It be 6 o'clock. Call to order the meeting
It is
of
6
April
o'clock.
9th, Planning Board. And for attendance, we have Victoria Ames, that's me. We have Scott Self.
Here.
Mark Scalera is not here. Richard Lane.
Here.
Brandon Self.
Here.
Michael York.
Yeah.
Our Selectmen's Rep, Alan Gross. Here. Alternate Stacy Goodale.
Here.
Charlie Harbeck.
Here.
And Jane Johnson. Here. And I'm going to seat Stacy for Mark. And we also have Town Planner Adam Paquette. And the agenda, we'll start with approval of minutes of March 26, 2026. We have a public hearing which was continued from March 26, which is Planning Board 26005. Revision Energy, on behalf of the City of Keene, has submitted a site plan review application for 2 ground-mounted solar arrays on approximately 24 acres of undeveloped land at Dillant-Hopkins Airport. The project site spans both the rural agricultural and residence districts at tax map 205, lot 1. And then we have, under discussions and other business, at 85 Monadnock Highway, a new tenant application. Southwest Regional Planning Commission is here to discuss an ordinance audit, our zoning ordinance audit. We have a conditional use permit discussion, a discussion around code of conduct, site plan review regulations to take another look at, and I have a couple of smaller items for the end of the meeting. So, let's consider the minutes of March 26, 2026. And the question is, are there any corrections, additions, or deletions?
I'll make a motion that we approve them.
Motion by Brandon,
I'll second.
second by Scott. Are we all satisfied? I had nothing. I thought she did a great job. It's a really hefty set of minutes. Okay,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, Alan abstains and the motion carries. And then our standard regional impact question, is there anything on the agenda that qualifies as a development of regional impact that would require notification of neighboring municipalities? The only thing that's new on the agenda is the Monadnock Highway new tenant application. So I would entertain a motion that nothing on the agenda so qualifies.
Make a motion, there's nothing on the agenda for tonight.
Motion by Richard,
I'll second.
second by Scott. Any discussion? I'm guessing no. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. All right, we have this, we're continuing this public hearing, and I will go ahead and read the notice again, and then ask Adam for an update on it. So the public hearing is Planning Board 26005, which is continued from March 26th. Revision Energy, on behalf of the City of Keene, has submitted a site plan review application for 2 ground-mounted solar arrays on approximately 24 acres of undeveloped land at Dillant-Hopkins Airport. The project site spans both the rural agricultural and residence districts at tax map 205, lot 1. Adam, would you like to update us?
Yes, can you just reopen the public?
Oh, I reopened the public hearing? But we didn't
No,
close it.
you don't.
Oh, it stays.
It stays open the whole
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Questions from Conservation Commission, I have 2 of them. I don't think we need to go through them tonight because they were included in our discussion on the 23rd. I can get into them if you guys want to, but I'm sure revision will like to be here to discuss those. Those are the only 2 updates I have. Now that you're ready to consider.
So, but the other thing you want to tell us is that they've asked for a further continuance
Yes, until
until
the 23rd.
the 23rd.
Yeah, maybe from the vision has requested continuance until our next meeting.
So then I would entertain a motion to continue again, the Revision Energy Public Hearing to the April 23rd, 2026 Planning Board meeting.
So moved.
I'll
So moved.
second.
Who was that? Did you catch that? Adam? Okay, second.
Second.
Any other, second by Brandon, any other discussion?
You do the 23rd.
23rd, yeah.
I'm all set.
Excuse me?
I'm all set.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, so let's move on to the new tenant application. And I'm going to, that would be you, right, Jonathan? You're Jonathan? Do you want to come forward? And so I'm going to just read through the highlights of this, but the first question that the planning board has to consider is we have to confirm that this is the same type of permitted use as has been in that space before. And that allows us to authorize a new tenant application.
All right.
Okay? So this is an application for Jonathan Shimp, who is for the location of the building is 85 Monadnock Highway, which is in the business district at tax map 103, lot 64. And the type of business is home heating oil delivery and septic pumping.
Correct.
The space that will be used at that property is a garage. There's also a house there, right? House?
Yeah.
There's two structures on that
It's,
property.
yeah, two separate properties.
Okay. And so the intention is to, you need office space and to park spare trucks. The proposed hours would be from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Estimated 5 customers per day. Parking spaces planned are 2. Number of full-time employees are 2. Number of part-time employees are none. No pickup or deliveries. And there's going to be a light. There is existing a light on the front and rear of the building. And a permit required is a New Hampshire septage hauler permit. Okay, so open it up for the board to ask, or would you like to tell us something about it first, or would you want to hear questions from the board? What's your preference?
Well, I don't have anything to say. I guess I'd just wait to hear.
Okay.
Well,
Questions from the board?
seems to me that it's pretty much the same as it was before. Vehicles are going to be parked there. That's what was there before. Was that limousine service, wasn't it? I think it was.
It's
And they put
detail.
retail place after that, yeah.
And before that, it was a garage,
Yep, so
automotive.
vehicles
Eric's
being parked there.
Auto import, yeah.
Yep.
And this would be, to me, this would be the same thing, vehicles being parked there. And, because no real work is going to be done on the site. Heating oil is delivered and the septic truck will be out pumping and delivering his load somewhere else. To me, anyway.
No plans to have oil stored on any in the big tanks? So
No plans on putting in any tanks or anything like
so you'll be getting your oil for your trucks probably down at Cheshire Oil or something like that?
that. Yeah, there's a facility in Walpole,
Okay.
so that's where we go to get our fuel.
So I'll make a motion that this is, I'm just gonna make a motion, or you want to come in first?
Okay, your motion, go ahead with the motion.
My motion would be that it's the same use and that we don't need a public hearing for this. That would be my motion.
I'll second.
Let's have
I
some
don't
further
see-
discussion, because
Yeah.
you wanted
I
to
don't,
say.
I don't see where it's the same use. I mean, you have a vehicle that contains oil that's being parked probably within 50 feet of a brook that goes into Wilson Pond versus a car that's being detailed. You have a septic truck that's there, both potential leaks. I don't see it as the same. I mean, it's a business. That's about the only similarity that I see.
Well, the similarity I see is that vehicle's going to be parked there regardless of what's in it. I mean, what's in it and those types of issues are, I would say, later on in the discussion as opposed to if it's the same type of use. The potential for a leak isn't necessarily, to me, a use. It's a potential for something happening with something on there, but it's not necessarily the use. We're talking about the use of the property, whether it's the same, basically the same or not. And I say it's the same because of just parking vehicles there.
Could you clarify, are the vehicles going to be parked inside the garage or outside?
No, they don't fit
I
inside the
didn't
garage.
think so, yeah. Okay.
From what I've seen, that both vehicles have been parked behind the second building, correct?
Yeah, behind the garage.
Yeah. Closer to the actual pond.
Well, in my opinion, any potential, to leaks or things like that would be addressed with an approval or not an approval, as opposed to the actual use.
My other question would be, is this something that should go before conservation for their assessment of potential problem, or is it not pertinent to this? I know I'm talking, looking at you, I should be addressing it to Victoria. So,
I have a question for Adam. The only thing that you gave, the only extra documentation you gave us in the packet related to this is subdivision plat? Yeah. Is that the only thing that was in the master property file? So there's no former site plan from the previous use? There is no site plan on record for this property?
Not that I could find for previous, it's one of those things where it was used with certain type of business for so long, that records going back are a little shaky.
Sure.
I do believe that we approved a car detailing business there a couple of years ago, if I recall.
A very well put business, so
Yeah.
you can go back and check.
This is more of a, us wanting to keep the files up to date and have records,
Yeah.
So, which is something that we're always trying to improve as we go along. So that's part of the consideration here.
Yeah.
So, if we decide that it's a similar use, then we don't require a site plan.
We still can.
We still can?
We still can,
Okay, okay. So that's a consideration in my head, that I would like to see a site plan, because I just would like to see a site plan for all these kinds of properties. And that's fairly easy to do. You don't need to hire an engineer or anything, but we just need to have some sort of paper documentation to do. And Adam is a pro at helping people with that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how other people feel about that. Brandon, would you like to see a site plan or no?
We've got that one motion on the floor.
We do have that
Yeah.
one motion on the floor. All right, so
So,
knowing that we can have a site plan, how do you feel about the use?
I feel that the uses runs along the same line as far as parking vehicles there goes. I would be for a site plan, just because the last oil company that came in a couple months ago, we had him do a site plan, and it wasn't anything fancy. It was just, this is where I'm gonna be parking my trucks, this is where the house is, this is where the office is, just plain and simple, just so like she's saying,
Yeah.
that we have something on file. I'd be for that.
Jane, your feelings?
I'd like to know the dimensions as related to the brook that Richard mentioned. How close is the parking and the business going to be to the inlet to Wilson Pond?
Which would
And-
show up on the site plan.
Yes,
Yeah.
it should. And what type of soil will be under it? What, to consider the runoff relation.
So how do you feel about the use? Do you feel like the use is similar?
If those things are reasonable, if the distance and the surface is reasonable for, for not polluting. If there were a slow leak on a truck that's parked there or something, and perhaps it just wasn't looked at carefully enough in the past, I don't know. But that would be, I certainly wouldn't want it to be jeopardizing the lake or the water.
Alan, do you care to comment?
I guess a site plan would be good to have. I would be curious if there should be an accident, what could be done to mitigate that so that there wouldn't be any damage to the brook?
Scott? Scott, you feel like it's a similar use?
Similar use, I'd be in
There's
favor
a
of site.
similar use, but site plans is
You feel
called
the
for.
same?
So I guess I should say, the trucks I park there are empty. They don't carry fuel or septic in them. They're spare trucks. So if one of our main trucks go down, then we go get one of the spares and go hit the road with that. So they're not parked there. The fuel trucks aren't parked with fuel in the trucks, and the septic is not parked with septic in the truck.
That's very,
Good to know.
That
that's
is-
great.
yeah.
That helps a lot. Thank you.
That is
Yeah.
different, yeah.
Okay, so that's what you mean when you say to park spare trucks. It's not to park empty
Right.
trucks, it's just if you have trucks that aren't,
Right, I always have backups,
Backups.
because
You've got
things
con-
break,
yeah.
so you gotta have something else to hop into and keep going.
So do you have you must have another facility somewhere else where other trucks park
Yeah,
at night?
my home in Troy,
Okay.
I
okay,
got,
okay.
I got enough
That's
room out there. for-
Hugely clarifying.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so.
Okay. So, Michael, Richard, do you feel that it's a similar use?
I'm not sure that it's a similar use, but with the explanation of what's going to be actually parked there in its contents, I think we're okay.
Okay. Stacy?
Same.
Charlie, same. All right. So there's a motion on the floor that it's a similar use. It's been seconded.
And the motion had no public hearing, too. The motion
The
says
motion-
it's a similar use, and that doesn't require a public hearing.
All right. So
So we can
we can,
vote on that, or?
I'm new at this, okay? Scott is not new at this. He explains all. So if we have, we can accept the new tenant application and then ask for a site plan. Would there be a requirement for a public hearing for the site plan?
We don't have to, but we should.
Okay.
So if it looks like consensus is for a site plan,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take my motion back and say the motion, and you take your second back,
I'll take it back.
and say the motion is just for a similar use of the property, and leave the no public hearing out of it, because if we have a site plan, we should probably have a public hearing.
All right. And the reason for the public hearing is to notify the neighbors, just so everybody knows what's going to be happening, public
Yeah.
information. All right.
So
So,
the motion is that it's considered a similar use. And
and
I'll
Brandon's
second.
happy. And would anybody like to add anything to that at this point? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, so, you have your new tenant application, and we would also like to see a site plan.
Yeah,
And that site plan, when you come with your site plan, there will be a public hearing where abutting properties will be notified that the public hearing is happening.
right.
All right. So now, on your site plan, it would probably be helpful for Jonathan to know what we would like to see. I mean, they're the standard things, but I know one thing I would like to see is the extent of, I know there's some asphalt paving there,
Yeah,
and I think that would probably go a long way in us thinking about,
yeah, there's
lost.
on the backside, there's a concrete pad,
Yeah,
and then there's asphalt around that.
yeah,
I'll walk up with the checklist.
great, okay. So is there anything else anybody would like to mention that they would hope to see on the site plan?
Quick clarifier, if there is a site plan, there will be a public hearing
Yes,
as well.
And it just mainly be location of the building as it exists now, distances from the street,
Yeah.
and distance from a brook or something like that, and where the paving would be, or
Right.
currently is, and where you plan to park the trucks, and where your office would be.
Yep,
Those simple things like that.
easy enough.
easy enough.
And if you know of anything else, if there's a well on the property, you know where it is, put that on there too. And if there's a septic system on the property, put that on there too,
All right.
if you know where any of
Maybe
that is.
on water.
I think it's on town water and sewers.
That
Probably
is
is.
town water, but I think it's got its own septic.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so those are the general things that we need.
All right.
good deal. Is there any other action we need to take? We good?
We can
Would
wait.
it- I think Adam would be able to help you setting that up some, okay?
Yeah, that,
John, it's not too complicated. I will say we are now looking at May
Sure.
Yeah. Whatever you want.
Sounds good.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you for coming in, and we'll see
All
you
right.
soon.
Thanks.
That's it for now?
That's it for now.
All right.
Thank you.
We have Sarah Bollinger. Such a treat.
Everybody, it's nice to see so many familiar faces. I'm Sarah Bollinger. I'm a senior planner with Southwest Region Planning Commission, and we have been contracted by you all to conduct an audit of your zoning ordinance. And in your packet, you should have a 13-step scope of work, and I'm just going to touch on a few of those steps and discuss them with you tonight. Essentially, the overview of the whole project, what we're looking for, number one is compliance with statute. So we're going to be identifying areas in your zoning ordinance that could just have the statute listed, or identify areas where you guys are out of compliance, where you're going to want to consider updates at future town meeting. Another thing we're going to be looking at is your goals in the master plan and objectives, and how your zoning ordinance aligns with those goals. And we're also going to be looking at the overall organization of the document and making recommendations on how it could be reframed to be more user-friendly. And so, during this task, we have we have 5 touch points with the planning board. The first one is tonight on task number 1, and the next one will be task number 5, where we're proposing a joint meeting with the planning board, the ZBA, the Conservation Commission, possibly EDAC, possibly the select board, and the list of boards and committees that are involved in the joint meeting are up for discussion, and we'll be working with staff, and I'm sure they'll be working with you to help determine everybody who should be a part of the meeting, to discuss places where there's room for improvement that has been observed. And at the first meeting, we'll share our initial observations and recommendations. And I'm anticipating we'll have that meeting in May or June, but that's going to be based on everybody's availability, and Swanzey staff will establish the time frame for that. The next touch point will be task number 6, and this is actually just going to be a report out from Swanzey staff based on our recommendations following the joint meeting. And the next touch point will be item number 8, which loosely I'm anticipating to be in September, which will be a follow-up joint meeting to review all of the recommendations that have made to date and determine if everybody feels like we're on the right track, or make additional recommendations. And the final touch point with you folks will be in December, when the project wraps up, and we'll have a final report out of all of the recommendations that we've made. So before I move on to my questions for you, do you have any questions for me or comments?
I do. Actually, one small question that Victoria has.
No, you ask her, Christine.
You've done it before for other towns, right? So how did they handle the town meeting part of it, you know?
Well, it depends. The one we did most recently was with Westmoreland, and we did not recommend zoning updates as well. We just did a full reorganization. And so we provided a draft warrant for them to put before the town, and it was actually pretty simple, and it passed. So one piece of this for the reorganization is a crosswalk, and the crosswalk document was incorporated into their zoning ordinance, so that anybody who's familiar with the existing ordinance and knows where they used to look can easily look at this crosswalk and see, like, oh, section 431.2 is now section 14B, or something of that nature. Is that sort of what you're asking?
It is, yeah. I was wondering how you treated it as one warrant article for the
Yep.
entire zoning ordinance with the indexes, crosswalks.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then any changes that you guys decide you want to adopt for 2027, each one would be a separate warrant article.
Mhm.
Any changes beyond reorganization, I mean.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
I have the same concern. I'm trying to imagine a public hearing where we're walking people through the prior and the proposed. That feels daunting to me. I'm sure you have a way.
It doesn't have to be daunting.
Yeah.
I can share some of the documents that we pulled together for Westmoreland. I'll send them to Adam so that he can share them with you all, so you guys can get an idea of what the end product can look like, if you think that would be helpful.
Touching on that really fast, I mean, we have the lovely new projector. I'm already thinking about ways
Good.
we can present the information to the public, really clear cut, side by side.
Great.
Here's what it was, here's what
Yeah.
we need to do. We're gonna have enough lead up, but I think the realization should be okay. And if there's confusion, I'm sure it'll require communication. I think we'll be able to present the information clear enough.
Good. Yeah, because my hope is housekeeping and some zoning changes. Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully the housekeeping is a pretty easy pill to swallow for the community. It generally is, because the outcome is a document that is, it's just more logical. You know, I mean, the Swanzey zoning ordinance, as you guys are all aware, it has been added on to over many, many years. And so it doesn't really follow a straight line, so to speak.
It feels to me like a Vermont continuous house, you know, you just keep going on.
Yeah, it is a little bit like that.
Fun fact for you all, we are already on Z for general.
Oh, gosh. In trouble.
Section 3, we're already on Z, so we either need to reorganize, delete things, or put ZA or ZB or something.
Will there be a way to, I'm sorry, quick question.
Yeah, sure.
Will we be tracking will the changes, like, so some of the space that's taken up currently is a line that says this was removed or amended or whatever. Will we have some record of that? Because I feel like that's helpful in terms of figuring out why we did things when we did things.
That can still exist in the crosswalk.
Okay.
So it will live at the end of the document, but it will no longer hold space within the ordinance, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Once we get started with this, would it be possible, or would it be of assistance to have the governance committee do sectional meetings? Or I believe, Adam, you were proposing doing some like quarterly meetings with within the towns, if it would help to explain what was going on?
Yeah, once we get started with the process, the plans have been shifted around a little bit. But once we start with the process, I hope to have at least 2, maybe 3 roundtable sessions with Swanzey and different areas in Swanzey. So anybody can come, ask questions, very non-formal. There's a community meetup about zoning. So yeah, I'm hoping we can get some good education in those sessions. But I want to wait for the process to start before we get into that. I was a little hopeful starting in April when I did that last week.
Other questions or comments from you folks before I ask my big question?
Charlie, Stacy. Nicole, good? Anybody else? Okay.
So our big discussion at the joint meeting is going to be the sticking points and places where you guys see obvious room for improvement or reorganization. You don't have to have a solution, but does anybody have any of those points in mind right now that you'd like to share, or this week that you can send on to Adam and he can forward on to Southwest? I will take any notes and observations tonight if anybody has something they want to share. Oh, you have them all?
Yeah, so every year I do a chart, right? Because where are the uses? Where are the permitted uses? Where are the, you know? And
this your copy?
this is your copy. And I have ranted about this multiple times, so the board is very familiar. We have similar but different names for so many things.
Yes.
So I would like for us to have one name for those things, and perhaps we could have, where it's confusing, we could have a definition for that thing in our definitions. But currently, when you see a variation on that permitted use, you think, well, perhaps this is somehow slightly different from the other variation of the permitted use.
I've
So-
noticed that also.
Yes,
We need an updated use table.
yes.
Just like
A table would be so nice.
We need a table with very clear markings on what's approved, what's not approved, what's conditional. I mean, conditional maybe not, just that's only between the wetlands district. Sections, every section is numbered differently, or there are sections that are organized differently. They all need to be organized in the same way. Our sign ordinance is outdated, our parking ordinance is outdated. I have a list I can send you tomorrow. I would like to gather some thoughts from the board at large. I can get this documented by tomorrow or maybe Monday.
That's fine.
I have a ton of things.
I'm sure you do.
The solar ordinance that I want to do, that's a whole separate thing. But organization is huge. It's been killing me. So, yeah, the sign ordinance has been a real thorn in the planning department side. We've been taking 3 sign permits a week for a couple months now, and it's very tough to work within that very outdated sign ordinance. Parking ordinance is a mess. It doesn't cover all uses. It covers a couple of uses, but there are more and more uses that you look at the parking ordinance and you're like, I don't really know if that's really covered. So if you look at the parking ordinance, you probably are.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so the parking needs to be updated, signs need to be updated. The rear lot ordinance is confusing, it should be reworded. Yeah, I could touch on all of that stuff. Conservation subdivision ordinance could be updated.
Yeah, I flagged that whole section.
Yeah, so, home-based business, home occupations, I have a lot of thoughts about that. So I have a new list.
And we also should be looking at things we want to delete out of there.
Okay.
Things that are no longer relevant to the town or outdated somewhat, we can get rid of some of the stuff.
For
Streamline it
example?
down a little bit. I don't have any example, I was just looking through, because I have pencil marks through my
Right.
ordinance all day. I was just looking through it and seeing right now. I'll have to go through again just to see and maybe come up with a list, give it to Adam.
Updated definitions, maybe a more clear airport overlay, because right now it's confusing.
Baffling, I think is,
Yeah.
that's my reaction to the airport overlay.
Yeah,
I completely don't understand it.
I still don't understand.
Yeah. When you talk about novel emerging land uses as something that you'll be looking at, I wonder if, regarding parking, if one such use might be a way for to contiguous properties to perhaps share parking, where there's a daytime use and a nighttime use, and you wouldn't have to have double the parking because they could share. Just a thought. I don't know if that's possible.
Keene used to have an ordinance that supported that. I don't believe they have it anymore because there were not enough subscribers. But in part of the high-density downtown neighborhoods, Bill might remember it. He says, don't put me on the spot.
Yeah, they're going to form-based downtown. So I'm going to have a form-based code affects the parking.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This predated that. It was closer to the college neighborhood, mostly to deal with the shifting populations day and night.
Bill, do you have questions, thoughts?
No, I'm just here to hear the launch.
Okay.
It's been something long awaited, so appreciate Adam pushing on this. I think we're blessed to have Sarah, who's got so much knowledge of our ordinance, working on it.
Any other comments? For the moment, I know there will be many more, but I encourage you all to really think on it, because this is, it's like Christmas for the zoning ordinance. What are your wishes for it? Because if you document all of your wishes, with all of the engagement that Adam is planning to do, it doesn't mean everything is going to come to fruition in 2027, but it means you guys are going to have a plan for how to bring everything up to snuff in the near future.
I want to have a big outline by the end of the year.
Yeah.
For 5 years, let's say, for what we want to accomplish.
Yeah. Just structurally, as much, like figures, and as much as can fit into charts would be my preference, because it's so much easier to access than lines of prose.
Oh, and pictures too.
Yeah,
I find pictures.
charts, yeah, drawings with
Yeah.
set, yeah.
So step back, pictures, you know, a lot of people are very confused about road line versus property line. So maybe a nice drawing of like, here's an acre or square.
Sidebars.
Sidebars are.
Sidebars are so nice.
Well, organization's just huge.
Yeah.
If we get the organization down, I think the rest will fall into place.
And just a pet peeve of mine is line length. So we have the capacity to do things in columns now, and that means that you don't have to read all the way across the page. It's just so much easier to penetrate a lot of really dense information if it's set up graphically that's a little more accessible.
And that will be one of our conversations. So probably by the task 6 report out from your staff, bringing things in, we'll probably have a draft structure at least in place for you guys to react to, so that that's something that we'll be able to discuss in more depth in task 8. And will have been revised because Adam will report back, and we'll try to make it a nearly perfect document, and then hopefully by December it will be perfect. That's the goal.
Good foundation, especially to work on.
Right. Yeah, and one of the objectives in this is, as we reorganize it, to make it so that it can be increased in size. You know, you can add more uses down the road because you're not getting to the end of the alphabet.
Yeah, and section 3 harbor is 50% of the master plan section.
Yeah.
Just the way we present information is just a mess.
Yeah, and consistent hierarchies throughout the document and that sort of thing, so that, you know, you know where you are. Like if you were under 3B, 2A, I had a little trouble today trying to find, like, is this use meant to be under this special exception section, or is it meant to be under this one? Because it skipped the hierarchy. It just got lost. So we'll be addressing those things as well.
Great. It's very exciting.
It is very exciting.
I'm excited.
Any other questions or comments for me?
Nope.
Thank you so much for coming in, and this is going to be fun.
I really look forward to
it.
working on this project with you guys.
Good. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
I'm going to be really multitasking here, Adam. Do you want to discuss, okay, I know how you want to handle. We're up to conditional use permit applications and also the site plan review app.
Just because there's not a whole lot for me to discuss, I'm just hoping you guys will go over it, and I'll make any comments, any corrections, any FDs, whatever. I mean, it's planning board application, however you guys want to change it, let me know if you want to change it. And we'll roll. I think we should have a quick 5-minute discussion on fees. And I think the planning board can set those fees. I don't think the select board needs to set those. So we can talk about the fees too. I have an idea. I want to maybe mirror site plan fees, but because they will require some amount of work, I think. But we can talk about it. So, whatever thoughts you guys have.
So the question is not actually the dollar amount, but what it should be similar to. Because I don't know the dollar amounts of these different fees. So it's what you're sort of asking, what kind of category of application this is?
Mirror site plan.
Mirror site plan?
I ripped this checklist almost directly from the site plan review, because the thought is that if they do this application, they should be pretty much done with their site plan. By doing this application, they pretty much completed all their testing requirements. And so it should be an easy submission for the applicant.
Okay.
But there will be the ones that we normally wouldn't see, like the ordinance is going to set us up for a conditional use permit within the zoning ordinance, but that's going to cover residential use as well, because they'll be in the wetlands or near wetlands. Normally, the planning board has no jurisdiction over those residential uses unless they're multifamily. So if it's a single family and they want to put a driveway too close to the wetland or something, they're gonna be in here seeing us as well. So we won't have a site plan with them. So I know that checklist is, like you were saying, it came right out of the site plan regs. I would suggest in the no column, we just put NA, you know, it doesn't apply because a lot of these things won't apply to even someone who has a site plan, they won't apply to if they're doing just an access road or something like that. But we just have to keep in mind again that we're gonna have residential units perhaps in here or people in here that won't have that site plan. So we- Yeah, we should, yeah, to NA. And we just, yeah, shouldn't really make the residential property owners go through the same thing that we do with the business ones. One reason, because we don't have jurisdiction, the other reason is they don't have the expertise for that. And I think the planning board can see the difference between that when they come in for want something a little bit closer, parking closer, or however it's gonna be for the conditional use permit, so I'll say NA there instead of the no. Then we know that it's either yes or NA. If they say no, we don't even know why they said no.
Right.
So.
Other thoughts? Do you need formal action on that, or just consensus?
Consensus.
Go for it, I
We
guess.
can go live whenever you guys feel like you're ready to go live. Once we go to the before we go live.
Okay, so we have to vote on a fee for it to go live, so that's the action that you're asking for?
Yeah.
All right. And we need a specific number, I would presume.
Either that, or we can mirror it out to a different application. Well, we have a couple zoning board applications that are 75, variant applications 75. I don't know if it's relevant for this site plan applications vary. Those are typically 250. Let me go into our fee schedule. Yeah, site plans first 5,000. Yeah, site plan floor is 250. If we want to not be that expensive, we can split the difference and be 100. This is an involved application. It will take a lot of review, so I don't think it should be a cheaper application.
No, but what about residential versus a business though? You know what I mean? You're gonna make me that wants to put a deck on the back of my house, but it intrudes on a wetland, that I'm gonna have to pay $250, the same thing that like Mold Pro or another business in town
What does
would
that
have to do, you know?
But it is a significant amount of work, so it shouldn't be a $25 application.
Well, some of these are gonna be probably submitted right along with a site plan, correct? So should we be making them pay double for something like that? Because some of the work is gonna go side by side with a site plan review. Your department, I'm saying.
Yeah, it can't be nothing.
No, I'm not saying it's nothing, but I'm just saying it doesn't have to be as much as a site plan review, because, like I say,
Yeah.
should we have a tiered one? Should we have one for residential,
Yeah.
one for one with a site plan, and one for
Absolutely.
someone who has a
That
site plan?
makes sense.
Good idea.
Or one who has a site plan and isn't in for site plan review, just wants the conditional use permit? I can see 3 categories there: residential, one submitted with a site plan, and one submitted without a site plan. The one submitted without a site plan would probably be more expensive because you're doing more work on it. One with a site plan wouldn't be as expensive because a lot of that work is done. Residential, we should cut them a break. You know, I don't know what that would be, but 3 tiers.
I'm thinking too, I know there has been continued discussion about our fees in general,
Yes.
the thought being that we need to modernize them. If we base this application fee on existing fees, will we need to, we'll need to take formal action again if we need to?
Yes, I
Updated.
haven't even begun to think about the formalizing or modernizing the fees. I just have been too busy.
Sure.
So, I think if we decide something now, it will change if we ever decide we want to modernize our fees.
So, but perhaps that will just be like a, 25% increase or something. Maybe it'll be a blanket thing that's
Yeah.
easy to do.
We haven't even
Yeah.
begun to discuss it yet, though,
Yeah.
so we're probably still a ways off.
Okay. So is our request at this point that Adam come up with a 3-tier, or that he suggests to us 3 numbers that make sense to you from a staff perspective?
Yeah, I think so, everything's,
Yeah. And then
Can we
we'll,
decide it now?
yeah.
You have anything on top of your head? I mean, we gotta formalize this thing because there are gonna be people in here probably for it.
Yeah, so, general residential applications, thinking use tenant, thinking home business, signs, that kind of thing, and we go to 25. So we can do residential permanent 25, we can do commercial 75. That makes it in line with.
75 with the site plan review, and then 150 without it.
What do you think? With the site plan, without the site plan?
Well, it'll be more expensive without the site plan, probably, because, again, you're gonna be starting over, looking into this. With the site plan, you've looked into a bunch of this stuff already, you know, site plan and all that type of stuff, so residential 25, if this comes along with a site plan, you said 75, we just said there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that'd be 75 for there, and then if it's,
125 with-
what do you say?
125 without a site plan.
Yeah, that sound right? Victoria?
I'm looking at Adam because he's, you know, he knows how many hours he needs to put into it. And
Like Adam said, we're probably gonna change them,
Yeah.
but we need a starting point.
I'm wondering, can you recover your cost for $25?
No,
it's a token.
it is too cheap, but we don't have, I haven't even thought about a fee restructure yet. But I will be thinking about it this year. $25 is, no, it doesn't come close to any sort of.
Would $50 come?
No.
No, not.
But this is a bigger discussion for
Okay.
tonight.
Okay.
But I think if it's in line with other applications, that's smart for now,
Yeah.
and then we can, you know, we can change it.
All right. This is just a placeholder, really,
Exactly, yeah.
so that we can start using this form.
Pretty much.
All right. So the residential fee would be $25,
75 with the site plan.
75 with site plan.
125
All right.
without site plan, was that?
Yep.
When we look at it. Yeah. That makes sense for now, I mean, if I discover catastrophe somewhere else, but, we do need to get this rolling pretty quick, so, yeah, I'll let you know if there's any issues.
Would you like a formal action to
Yeah.
confirm that? All right. So the motion on the floor is that the application fee for a wetlands conditional use permit application will be $25 for residents, $75 for an application that includes a site plan, and $125 for an application that does not have a site plan. Does anybody care to make that motion?
I'll make it.
Brandon makes it. Second from Richard.
Under further discussion, I would just like to combine that we accept the current format that he has for the application,
All right, I'll add
along with that.
Yes.
You made the motion?
I'll add that
You
to
made the
my
motion?
motion.
You make, add it just a second. Okay,
Agreed.
that's all I have.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Got it. Thank you, Adam. All right, the next thing is conditional use, site plan review regulations. Would you like to do those next, Adam?
Mainly just wanted to discuss Cordell's comments. Hopefully you guys will see that email. I can go ahead and read his email now. All right, so you guys should have, who doesn't have Cordell's comments in front of them?
I don't.
You don't?
I read your email, but it wasn't in the packet.
No, I got it on my cell phone, I'm going
Thank you.
to kill another tree.
So, he has some various types of comments. He is currently on vacation, so I want to let you guys know that anybody who has comments on his comments, they're going to be a little bit until we can address those. Let me pull up his email, going over the red line document. Okay, so his first comment about the expiration of approval. In paragraph 6C, he is suggesting to change the period of expiration of approval from 1 year to 3 years. Now, I'm quoting him directly now. I know that seems like a big change, but I think it's necessary due to changes in the law. Paragraph 6C clearly was intended to follow RSA 674-39, which, as originally enacted, said that if active and substantial development begins within 1 year after approval, then the development is exempt from future changes in the zoning ordinance and regulations. However, the statute then has been amended several times in the last 15 years, most recently last year. Now the law says that the exemption applies if active and substantial development begins within 3 years after approval. I think the regulation needs to be amended to reflect that change. Technically, the law doesn't say that approval has to remain valid for 3 years. So in theory, you could still say that it expires after 1 year. But if the applicant let the approval expire and then came back with an identical application within the statutory 3-year period, the board would be forced to approve even if the ordinance or regulations have changed. In that case, the only point in requiring a new approval would be to make the applicant jump through the same hoops and pay more fees, which I don't think is valid. Therefore, I think this needs to be changed to 3 years.
Now, I seem to hear Scott saying almost exactly the same thing at the last meeting.
I did,
If you remember.
I brought that up at the last meeting.
So we've been thinking about this.
It goes without saying that I agree with that.
Mhm. I do too, I'm convinced.
All right, me too.
Any other comments?
Well, do you want to address the conditional approval, conditions precedent?
For conditional approval, quoting directly from Cordell, I partially rewritten this to clarify a few things. First, I think it's helpful to distinguish between conditions precedent and conditions subsequent. I've seen approvals in other towns that contained conditions but did not state whether they needed to be satisfied prior to final approval, and it can be confusing. Second, I revised paragraph 7A to track RSA 6764I:I more closely. I've changed the 1-year periods in 7B and 7C to 3 years for the reasons discussed above. I hope this makes sense. These are fairly complex areas, so please let me know if you have any questions. As I mentioned, I'll be gone for 2 weeks after today. Let me know before the end of the meeting. So, yeah, 2 weeks. Any comments on that?
I'm happy with that, because I think it's clear.
I want to accept all of it.
Using those words, precedent and,
Didn't we discuss the conditions subsequent and precedent last year and kind of iron that out?
Yeah, those are the legal terms, and they're confusing. I think that's why we didn't use it in there before, because not too many people know what's precedent, what's subsequent, and what that really means. So we decided to use it otherwise, but I'm fine with that. They use the same terminology right in here, and it's a legal term, and if someone doesn't know, they can just look it up, but it covers it, it's fine for me. But yeah, you're right, we did discuss that.
I want to accept these as written, because I think it's really nice when we straight from Cordell. I don't think we should change how he proposed them.
and I think they make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you need a formal action? We would be done with this.
Well, you guys can't, yeah. We need a public hearing.
Well,
We need a public hearing, right.
let's take a look at C though, on 7. You know, all other conditions shall require public compliance hearing and notices provided in RSA 6764 ID. But we're saying that the public compliance hearing will be required within 3 years. Do we really want to do that? I mean, those are, yeah, I know, but those are conditions that the board put on there, not necessarily zoning conditions, you know, like, well, not an example anyways off the top of my head, but from a planning board standpoint, I think it's a long time to wait for, like, say 3 years. Somebody takes a full 3 years before you get a compliance hearing on something that's already fresh in your mind from them going over the whole thing and the board going over. The board could change in 3 years, and I know we have the records, we have minutes and all that type of stuff, but it just seems to me like a long time for that particular thing. The other ones, administrative, not a problem. It might take you 3 years to get a permit. But if you're asking them to put up a 6-foot fence as on a compliance hearing, something like that, or it's got to be this or that, then they're waiting 3 years for that hearing. Though, you know, on the other hand, it's not up to the applicant to to file when that public hearing is, but it's up to them to be ready for it. We can't file a public hearing without them being ready.
So did he only make that 3 years thing to correspond with?
It was,
With that,
for the
so this-
substantial development.
So this isn't a law. This is just his opinion that he wanted to change this 3 years to reflect the other 3 years, right? So could we leave it at 1 year, but then if for some reason they couldn't do it within a year, they could ask for an extension?
Yeah, because it's two different things that we're talking about, the application expiring on one thing for the 3-year thing, and then we're talking about a compliance hearing for the conditions that the planning board set.
And usually they want to get that done and over with ASAP, don't they, so they can get moving on with their project?
Generally so, we probably never run into a problem with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't, they're not gonna have those done in a year, they have 3 years to get their plans.
You'd think they'd get it done quicker than that.
Yeah, but why
Well-
would, if they have a 3-year approval, why would they comply with conditions within that year?
Because the compliance is, that type of a compliance has to be put onto the site plan. They don't have to do it on site until they get inspected, but they have to put it on the site plan as part of the approval. You know, it's just got to be there noted, and they've got another public hearing to do it because they've got to go back and do all their redrawings or recalculations.
Like if they came in with a site plan and we said, well, you really should put a fence around that, we'd like to see a
Yeah.
fence, and we put that on there, then the engineer has to go back and add that fence to there and come back to the planning board and have the
Then they sign
chairman or chairman sign off on it in order for them to move on with their project. So they're gonna look for a compliance hearing to get done and over with ASAP so they can get moving on with their project, right?
I'm just reading this, that the conditions need to be on the site plan prior to the compliance hearing.
Well-
But the compliance hearing isn't to check if they're on the site plan. The compliance hearing is to check to see if they completed the conditions.
And that is
That's
completing it,
it.
putting on the site plan. They don't have to complete it in the field, they don't have to put that fence up until they're done, but it has to be on that site plan.
I don't know, I'm not personally comfortable changing it for one or no, but it's not my decision.
What do you think?
Honestly, I'm confused. Is anybody else confused by this?
Why I don't want to change it.
Um,
Cordell changed it.
Well, Corral confused us, we knew what it said
I
before.
understand,
So-
I like the word.
I want to see those, I want to see as much information on the site plan as soon as possible so that we have something
Yeah.
for our code enforcement officer to work off of.
But if approval is 3 years, then I just don't see.
No, the expiration is 3 years.
Yeah, but I don't see a logical reason to require a compliance hearing if expiration is 3 years. Why? It doesn't make any sense.
Well,
Because
what
it's
if,
two different things.
what if they have the whole site plan completed within 2 years? But they say, well, we got 3 years to put the thing on our site plan, you know, to meet these conditions. The code enforcement is not gonna be able to sign off on it. Well, if it's not on the plan, he can sign off on it because it wasn't on the site plan, but the code enforcement has to use that site plan to make sure, as a checklist, to make sure that all those things are put on the site plan. We'll say they finish the building within 2 years and they wanna move in, but yet they think they have 3 years in order for the compliance hearing, or they haven't done it yet. There's a big holdup there. I think it'll be more confusing for that if it's not on that site plan.
And how do we even catch people, 3 years later? I mean, I wouldn't remember to
Yeah,
come in and bring it,
A building permit comes
Exactly.
in, I look at the building permit.
and you,
Because like right now, just for example, right now Plainview is coming in for a building permit, right? I have to review the building permit for Plainview before it gets approved.
But what if you're on vacation with Cordell and someone else is looking at it? You know? I mean, really, they aren't familiar with that site plan.
In other words, you can't go on
And it could go through.
vacation.
Right, I see the argument.
yeah. So the less we carry in our heads, the better, I think, is part of this.
I think we ought to leave it at 1 year.
I do too.
I'll make a motion that we retain the 1 year.
I'm gonna pass it for Cordell, but you might have some valid arguments.
Okay, and I'll second the motion.
All right.
I agree.
You agree?
It should be 1 year. I remember a case several years ago over between Calvin Hill and Mount Caesar. Remember that, Scott?
I don't know, yeah,
It was, wait a minute,
I know what you're
what
talking
was
about.
it? Edon Tap
Oh, wait.
Development
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
down in a hollow.
yeah.
And it went on, and nobody touched it, and there were so many conservation questions about it related to animals and water and land. And finally, nothing happened, and we finally got the DOD, whatever, the Department of Environment
DES.
on it. And they finally came through with it and put a halt on the whole thing. Same man still owns the property, but nothing's happening. He never put in the proper drainage and everything, so it stalled. And that was a good thing, but I mean, if you keep stretching it out, then it'll go on, and it sits there, and you're getting nowhere.
Okay, that sounds like vote of confidence in this.
I mean, to be fair, 1 year was not enough time, frankly. And so I understand why the state changed it to 3 years.
Yeah.
That's for something totally different.
Yeah, it was for something
Yeah,
different.
to be shown on the site plan, I get it.
It was for the expiration. 1 year wasn't long enough for the expiration, but 1 year is long enough to get your,
Compliance hearing done.
compliance hearing done and your plans all set and everything.
Yeah.
Did he explain it in his letter? What did he say about it?
Just to be in line with section 6.
That was his reasoning.
Okay.
He doesn't even, to track more closely, that's all he says. Any other feelings about this? I think there was a vote. Did I hear a vote?
And a second.
Okay, and a second. All right, so is the motion is that this 3-year, in section C, that a public compliance hearing will be required within 1 year instead of 3 years, after the date upon which the board voted to approve the conditions.
That was it.
That's it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You got it.
We got it. Did we vote?
Yeah.
Where was I?
No, we didn't vote on that. This is the first time we voted on this one. That I recall
I
anyway.
don't recall.
No.
Oh, I'm just.
This is the vote.
This is the vote. We voted. So, but you still want to run this past Cordell.
Yeah.
So we haven't, and we still need to have a public hearing.
Yeah.
All right. So it's not
yeah.
closed up yet.
Yeah, he's going to be out until the 23rd. Probably not
Okay.
Okay, state will change it next year again.
14 public hearing. All right. Board member code of conduct review. Would you like me to read your letter?
If you would, please.
I would be happy to. This is dated, not dated, I believe it's meant to be dated today. Addressed to the planning board from Adam, and it says, "Dear planning board member, planning board members are not authorized to independently enter private property, conduct unplanned site visits, or engage in similar activity. Entry is permitted only with formal board approval or in strict adherence to affidavits signed during the application process. These procedures are in place to ensure consistency, fairness, and adherence to legal and ethical standards. After application approval, if you observe potential violations from a public vantage point or during a scheduled site visit, your sole responsibility is to report them to the code enforcement officer. The code enforcement officer will then work with the town planner to determine whether a potential violation exists and, if necessary, conduct a proper investigation and follow-up. To be clear, unauthorized, that's a hard word, unauthorized entry onto private property is prohibited. This correspondence serves as the first and final warning. While the Board of Selectmen values the contributions made by all elected and appointed volunteers, any violations may result in removal proceedings under RSA 673:13, which includes a public hearing. We appreciate your immediate cooperation in adhering to these established protocols. Sincerely, Adam. So we did discuss this at the last meeting, and I think we understand the message loud and clear. I also am really proud of every member on this planning board for your wanting to do the best for the town of Swansea. So, so it brings up other questions for me that I continue to struggle with. And the biggest one is, how exactly do we review a property that's coming before us without a formal site visit? And I know what I like to do is I go into the property tax maps and I find the location of that site and I color it in with, sometimes I splice together different property maps because I want to see how it fits on the landscape, and I can go into the assessing data and look at the photograph of the property, so that helps me remember what it looks like. But I know I could legally park on the side of the road and sort of look and see, but a lot of times I just really want to know, but I don't want to drag everybody in for a site visit because it's just not that complicated.
Sometimes doing a drive-by would be a decent thing, like
Yeah.
the solar project there, I
Yes.
happened to drive by
Sure.
the airport last week there and
But
was
so,
like,
so
oh, okay.
here's, I want to give a concrete
it's gonna look
example
ugly.
for it, okay? So let's say that in an imaginary world, there is a property adjacent to Market Basket that wants to develop some business. And I don't want to walk on their property because that's not legal, but I really want to sort of scope it out. If I go and stand on the Market Basket parking lot is really public, right? So I can stand from there and peer over, right? Okay, that's fine. I can go on a street and be in the right of way and peer.
So.
What else can I do?
Yeah, but I think this is really, it's pretty clear cut in my opinion. There are affidavits in some of our applications that the applicant signs. For our subdivision and site plan applications, those affidavits state that with 3-day notice, filtered through me, I notify the applicant. So 3-day notice before anybody can enter the property to review the site.
Just wander around by ourselves and look, or does it need to be a formal site plan?
No, with a
site
3-day
visit?
notice, it's hopeful that the applicant will join you out there.
Okay.
But 3-day notice, the applicant will get a notice before you're on site.
Okay, as an individual.
Yeah. And
So how does that pertain to this situation right here and site plans that have already been reviewed that may or may not be abiding by their site plan?
Yeah, so if a site plan's already been reviewed and approved, the correct measure to take is if you see anything from a public area, code enforcement officer is the place to go.
And you'd report that to who?
Uh,
I know you said the code enforcement officer,
Chris.
but not everybody knows who that is or has his personal number, so if somebody wanted
Yeah.
to report something, where would you go to do that?
Yep, so the best
Or
way
how
to
would
do
you
it,
go and do that?
an official complaint to code@swanzeh.gov. You'll get Chris Levy. Chris Levy will most likely immediately inform me because it's a zoning thing. He'll want me to look at it to see if they're actually out of compliance. So I'll pull up the site plan or whatever was approved to see if they're meeting their conditions. If they're not meeting their conditions, I'll tell Chris, and then Chris can start official enforcement action. Usually in the form of a site visit himself, a letter, however he feels best to
Handle it.
handle it, yeah, depending on the severity.
Can you also go to the selectmen meeting and bring it up there? Or do they have anything to do with that?
Public comment?
I don't see why not, but we probably would, for, unless it's like really severe.
It would also end up being referred to code enforcement. So if you brought it independently to the board, we would refer it to code.
Yeah, so either way, because they're the code enforcers underneath you guys, right?
Yeah, so if we brought to the select board first, yeah, we're just go to Chris, which is why I always like to do it directly to Chris.
Yeah.
So I just want to make 2 comments. First of all, Brandon, interesting term, a drive-by. Not quite the connotation drive-by. And then I wanted to say something about, we talked about this last night, Bill, you can correct me if I'm
Yeah.
speaking error.
A drive-by up here means something different.
We have a great concern, the board, about exposing the town to liability. So that is something that we are very concerned about this situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's one of the top concerns about how we access property to do a site visit. We just want to make sure we're above board. So just before an application is approved, typically we will schedule a site visit as a board. The entire board will go out there, we'll all walk around the property, and then any concerns are addressed before approval. Or added on as a condition of approval. After approval, typically, somebody might notice something out of compliance through a drive-by or, any other legitimate means, hopefully, they'll inform the code enforcement officer. So,
Thank you.
yeah. But liability is.
So one other piece of that, I would suggest with maybe a little refinement, that maybe the first 2 paragraphs of Adam's letter be incorporated into our rules of procedure. It'd fit in there fine. I didn't read it completely, but a little rewording there, and it would cover the whole thing under our rules of procedure.
Thought it was too. That's
Yes.
not in there?
Not like that, I don't
it's
think.
not.
I don't think it
No,
is.
it's not.
Yeah.
No,
It's not in there, so.
but it belongs in there.
It does. I think it's a great proposal, something in the rules of procedure, and I also want to revisit those affidavits again, just to really tighten them up, make sure because I was looking at them again today, and I think there's still room for improvement. So, with the board's help, I think, yeah, rules of procedure edits, affidavit edits, and I think that will require a comment from Cordell, because they are legally binding signatures. So I want to get his input on that too.
Yeah, I would love to make use of the 3-day notice, individual visit thing often. There are many times when I want to be, and I also would like to, if I would like to include these paragraphs of your letter in the rules of procedure, and I would like to revisit that annually, just as I would like to revisit the conflict of interest policy and review our rules of procedure, just in general, just because it's so easy to forget over time, exactly what the domain of our task is.
I think annual reviews are great.
Excuse me?
I think annual reviews are great.
Yeah.
And what is the domain of our task? We should review that.
Yes,
too,
good thought,
Right.
yes. What's our job?
Oh. You're asking me, I was
No, no,
asking you.
no.
Oh, did I see it?
Yeah.
Well,
No, that we should review that.
Yeah, we should, yeah, we should. In my opinion, it's a simple thing, the planning board, and I've said it before to the board, that we're pretty much here to administer the zoning regulations and our site plan review regulations. We're here to help applicants, meaning businesses that want to put down roots in our community, help them to wade through all the rules and regulations and to make sure that they comply with the zoning regulations. We're not here, in my opinion, to stand in their way to pick apart their site plan review or to find fault with anything. We're here to help them through the whole process.
We're here to make sure that their applications comply with
Yep.
the applicable regulations.
Yep.
Right? But sometimes we have to pick to
Oh, we do,
identify- yeah,
we do.
They don't comply.
But our first thing probably should be helping them through. We see something wrong,
Yep.
help them change it,
Yep.
so it's right.
But the other, I think, the equally important part of our task is to, along with development review, is to improve our ordinances so they more accurately reflect what the
And
wishes of the citizens of Swanzey are, and help those ordinances evolve as our town evolves.
Yeah,
That's
our
the
job.
fun part, I think.
Well, that's what we're going to be getting into, right?
Yeah. And of course, the master plan. So, the planning side of it, in addition to the development review.
2032.
Okay.
Scott, I like what you said about helping them through the process. I think that's important.
It is, yeah, it's part of our job here.
I have 2 things, or, yes, I do have 2 things. And if it's a good time, one of them is that the New Hampshire Planners Handbook 2025 is now available. And it's It's a wonderful document, very thorough. However, they no longer print it for us. So I don't know if anybody would like a copy of it. This edition is a big revision. So they've gone through the entire thing instead of just putting the changes under the front cover. It's been substantially updated. So if there ever were a time to print it for everybody at massive expense. Yeah, it's big, but just so you know, you can see it online if you don't, looks beautiful.
Don't try to print it, I tried to do that.
It's like 100 and something.
I had to go back to Staples to get more paper.
Right.
And another cartridge.
Anyway, that's available and it's really useful. And I would like to just report on an event that I attended on Monday, which also Joe DeRusso attended and Stefan did too. This was it was called Stronger Towns Preparing New Hampshire Communities for Flooding. And as some of you know, flooding is one of the demons that lives under my bed that I worry about all the time. This was presented by some researchers from Dartmouth. And I'll just tell you that the first 3 slides were very cool. The first one showed that from 1900 to today, our heavy rainfall, so those are storms that are 2 inches or more, okay, in New England has increased by 50%, okay? And that's compared to the central United States, where it's increased by 37%, the southeastern part of the United States, 27%, west central, 16%, Oregon and Washington, 12%, the Southwest and California is 5%. So here is where we're getting bigger storms, okay, by double. So from 1900 to 1995, our heavy rain events typically were 2.27 inches, okay? From 1996 to 2014, our heavy rain events are now 4.25 inches, right? So it's not in your imagination. He said, no, that's what we're getting. We still have the same proportion of types of events. So as always, 50% of our big rains come from hurricanes, 25% of our big rains come from thunderstorms, and 25% from nor'easters. But the volume increase is still 50% more. And the way he explained it, the reason why is in New Hampshire, we have warmed by 3 degrees Fahrenheit since 1970. And this was cute. He showed us a small kitchen sponge. He said, okay, this is prior to 1970. So here's how much water from the air that you could hold in the sponge. And now, after 1970, he has one of those big fluffy car washing sponges. Here's today, okay? So because warmer air holds more atmospheric water, we get more rain. So it's not, we're not imagining it. And he also reminded me, July 10 is when we tend to see some of these big events. So, don't go on a picnic on that day.
July 8th, 2023, we got 10 inches.
Yeah.
Amazing floods.
Yeah, took out my road. So, and then the other thing that came out of that event, which was really excellent, is Southwest has some really fantastic planning tools. And for those of you who like to root around on the computer, I'm looking at Stacy, who is a researcher. There's some great resources there. Southwest Regional Planning Commission. So that's what I have. Anybody have anything else?
I'll give you an update from the Water and Sewer Advisory Committee. And we're looking at, I think I told you about the last meeting, that we're considering either building a new plant or piping it to Keene. I think that's where we left off. So now we're going to be considering other options at the plant down there as opposed to those 2 options that are pretty expensive. I think I told you how much they were the last time I figured they were.
17 million and 26 million? Thank you, sir.
16 million and 26 million. 16 million to pipe it to Keene, 26 million to build a new activated sludge plant down there. It's different than the lagoon system. So we're looking at the possibility of clarifiers, what they call clarifiers, at the plant down here. And that would be, basically it's a large tank that is a settling tank. So you'd be adding a chemical in there to get rid of phosphorus or metals and let it slowly settle out to the bottom of the tank. There's usually a conical in the bottom where all the sludge goes to the bottom, and it's taken out slowly with a pump into a dewatering press or something, or into a tank, but usually dewatering and then into a dumpster, and every so often you get it trucked away like any activated sludge plant does. But we don't know how much that's going to cost. I'm in the process of getting some figures as to what it costs. Winchester, they're an activated sludge plant, but they had two clarifiers put in not too long ago, small ones there. So they're supposed to be getting back to me with what that's going to cost. We're going to discuss it with the committee. And another scenario would be land application, but I haven't looked far enough into that yet. But that would be because we have 100 acres out there, which would be like a giant leach field. Those are the two ways. They do that, but I'm not exactly sure if the permit would be any better than the permit we have now. The permit we have now is pretty stringent.
But would you still have to treat for copper if you were dispersing it on
I think you
land?
would. You'd have to treat for the metals, but not for the
Not for the
phosphorus or the
phosphorus.
nitrogen. Those two would be fine out in there.
So you'd save on that end of it by not treating for the phosphorus and whatnot, which is,
You would, but in treating for the metals, you would be treating for the phosphorus, because it's the same removal process.
is.
Pretty much, yeah. So you'd be getting them both anyway, if you did for that. Maybe not at the numbers they're saying, and the numbers might be different for land application, I'm not sure. The numbers they gave us for the river are, they're below drinking water standards. I can't believe that they gave us a figure like that. It's
That's
in the parts per
ridiculous.
billion, and I just can't believe it, but they did. That's on our permit. We got to meet that. And we can meet that because we have an engineering, I won't get too deep in it. We have an engineering report that was conducted last year at the plant, and they were adding a chemical into the headworks to slowly settle out the phosphorus and metals as it went through the system. That's like a probably 50 or 60-day detention time from one end to the other. But anyways, all through that, looking at their charts in the engineering report, we were pretty much in that compliance level for the metals, aluminum and copper, that whole period there, without them even putting the settling agents in there. I mean, right from the beginning, because they put the settling agents in June, and right off, like 2 days later, they're checking the effluent, which shouldn't have been there till like 50 days later. You follow my drift there about the detention time? And we were still meeting that number of the aluminum and the copper. So it's pretty darn close there. But it's the phosphorus that it did not meet, so we're still blowing off the phosphorus in non-compliance with that. So anyways, that's what we're looking into. That's where we are. We're going to have another meeting next week, no, the 23rd, and go from there. That's my update.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Thank you for bringing your brain to that problem.
My
And I
pleasure.
believe the wastewater plant has an open house on Monday?
It's the Keene Wastewater has an open house on the 16th.
Oh, the 16th,
Yeah,
thank you.
that's Keene, and yeah, anybody wants to go ahead and seen that before, pretty interesting. They're open from 10 o'clock till I think 6 o'clock. They're giving tours through there. I'm gonna go up there and just see how they're removing. I wanna know what their number is for copper, and I wanna know how they're removing it there, and I think they're using PAC to do it. Same thing we're using down here.
the 16th of this month?
16th of this month, yeah.
Oh, I've never
Next
been
week,
up there
next-
myself. I'd like to check it out.
Next Thursday. It's quite interesting. I'll take a tour up there.
What time are you guys going up, 10?
I hadn't even planned. I just know I'm going up there sometime.
All right.
If you wanna go, I can go along with you.
Yeah,
But,
sure.
At some
I'd
point,
like to
go up
check
there.
it out.
And what else did you say, something about the Keene? Oh, it was just the Keene one, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
We're having a tour of the committee is touring the West Swanzey plant on the 23rd.
Oh.
If, at 10 o'clock, we're gonna start our meeting down there and then take a look at what we're talking about.
Would you repeat that, please?
It'll be on the 23rd is our next sewer and water advisory committee. And we are meeting down at the treatment plant at 10 o'clock, just so the members can see what we're talking about, and then come back here for the meeting.
Thank you.
Go for a swim out back.
Well, we're bringing boots.
All set? Anything else?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second. Further discussion? Motion carries.
What time did you say that, Keene, was on Thursday?
Keene is from 10 o'clock.
That part.